Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 9, The Long Shot, starring Peter Lawford as Charlie Raymond and John Williams as Walker Hendricks. And this is a very entertaining episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The plot and the twist might be a little bit out there, but if you just go with the episode, it is very well acted, and the execution of it is so good that it works well. So we start with our lead character Charlie, and he's in a bar narrating the story, and we find out he lost some money at the track, and a man calls wanting to collect his money, and Charlie's pretty desperate to get out of there because he obviously doesn't have the money to pay these debts, and he sees an ad in the paper for a man looking for a driver to drive him to San Francisco on his way back to England. And Charlie figures this will be a good way to get lost, to get out of there for a while. So he goes to see this man whose name is Hendricks, and he convinces him that he's legit, that he knows everything that Hendricks wants in this driver. So he also asks Hendricks about this, and Hendricks comes up with kind of a strange reason. He just says he wants company on his way back because he likes to chat and he doesn't like to be alone. Well, I can say Hendricks definitely likes to chat. So the two men are driving and talking, and this next scene is important and very well done as Charlie starts talking all about England and all these stories, and Hendricks is agreeing with him, but he's kind of hesitating. We're not sure if this guy's just forgetful or does he really know what's going on? It's played up where you're not really sure at this point, and it's done well for the most part. So then we go to the next scene, and they stop at a hotel for the night, and there's more chatting going on. So at this point, Charlie asks for an advance because he says he basically doesn't have enough money right now. So Hendricks says no problem, and he's willing to give him an advance. And when he pulls out the money, Charlie notices that there's a lot more money there. So he now has a plot that maybe he can get all the money from this guy. So he goes to get a drink at the bar, and there's this other man named Tommy that comes in, and Tommy is a guy that he knew, and Tommy says he's got this sure thing, this sure way to make money gambling, and Charlie's interested, so he goes back to the hotel room to basically steal all the money, but he finds these papers that say that Hendricks is going to inherit $200,000, which is still a lot of money even today. So Charlie tells Tommy to forget it. He now has a bigger idea. He's going to collect all this inheritance, so he decides to stick with Hendricks, basically. So they're driving, and Charlie finds out about this aunt that Hendricks has that, she's never met this guy. So Charlie has this idea, I'll pull a test on her, I'll impersonate this guy, and if it works, that means it'll probably work when I go to collect the inheritance as well. So he does go to see this lady, and he pulls it off very well. So now he figures nothing can really go wrong with his plan. But as we know in these kind of things, of course, something will go wrong. So they're driving again, and Charlie's plotting, and he waits. It's now nighttime, and Charlie pulls over, and he tells Hendricks, we're lost. I think we better stay the night here because we've been going around in circles, and I don't want to run out of gas. Kind of a far-fetched story, but he makes it sound believable. So he convinces Hendricks to sleep outside. Not really sure how he did this, but they're sleeping outside. And suddenly Charlie says he sees a light. He goes back in the car, and he actually runs over Hendricks. So he figures nobody will find this body because we're out in the desert. So Charlie now has the papers, and he decides to go through with this plan that he's going to pretend he's the real Walker Hendricks. And so he goes to see a man about the money. The man's name is Matthew. And Charlie shows all the documents and figures everything should be in order. But the man Matthew says there's not going to be any money. So Charlie's wondering what the heck is going on. And then a police sergeant comes out, and he says the real Walker Hendricks was killed. So they figure Charlie must have killed him, but we'll get to the twist here in a minute. He says the body was found. So Charlie tells his story, but he's confused about what happened because the sergeant says no body was found in the desert. The real Hendricks was killed. I think he was shot basically by a man named English Jim. So we basically find out at this point that the man that Charlie killed was not Walker Hendricks, it was English Jim, and that English Jim had the same idea, and he had already been impersonating Walker Hendricks after killing the real one. So, like I said, kind of a far-fetched twist that both of these guys would have had the same exact idea, and then they both would have met up this way. But if you just go with it, the way the episode is written, it really works. It's an example of where good writing can overcome a plot that maybe shouldn't work as well as it does, but this episode does work very, very well. It's highly entertaining, and I give The Long Shot a 4 out of 5. Definitely an episode worth watching, so a 4 out of 5 for The Long Shot, and as always, thank you very much for watching.